From Comedian to Commander-in-Chief, a critical biography of Volodymyr Zelensky. Volodymyr Zelensky, the current president of Ukraine, is a figure who has transcended national borders and become a symbol of resistance and national unity in the face of unprecedented aggression. His journey from a successful comedian and actor to leading a nation at war is a remarkable, and at times perplexing narrative. This biography aims to critically examine Zelensky's life, career, and leadership, exploring the complexities and contradictions inherent in his transformation from entertainer to wartime leader. Early life and entertainment roots. Born in 1978 in Kryvyi Rih, a predominantly Russian-speaking industrial city in central Ukraine, Zelensky's early life offered little indication of his future trajectory. His father was a professor of cybernetics and his mother an engineer. While he learned English with the intention of studying in Israel, he ultimately chose to study law at the Kiev National Economic University. However, law proved to be a fleeting interest. Zelensky's true passion lay in entertainment. His comedic journey began with KVN, a popular post-Soviet comedy contest, where he quickly rose to prominence. In 2003, he founded Studio Kvartal 95, a production company that would become a powerhouse in Ukrainian television. Kvartal 95 produced a string of successful comedy shows, films, and series, firmly establishing Zelensky as a household name and a commercially viable brand. These productions, often satirical as well as poking fun at political corruption and societal ills, resonated with a Ukrainian public increasingly disillusioned with the political establishment. Crucially, Zelensky's appeal stemmed from his perceived ordinariness. Unlike the polished and often aloof politicians of the time, he presented himself as an everyday Ukrainian, a man of the people. This relatable persona, carefully cultivated through his on-screen roles and public appearances, would prove to be a key component of his later political success. From TV president to real-life president, Zelensky's transition from entertainer to politician was both audacious and improbable. The seeds of his political ambition were arguably sown in his hit television series Servant of the People, which premiered in 2015. In the show, Zelensky played Vasyl Holoborodko, a high school history teacher who unexpectedly becomes president after a viral video of him ranting against corruption. The show's premise, a seemingly ordinary man challenging the entrenched power structures, captured the imagination of the Ukrainian public. The blurring of reality and fiction became almost seamless when in 2018 a political party named Servant of the People was registered, seemingly as a vehicle for Zelensky's potential presidential run. Officially announcing his candidacy on New Year's Eve 2018, Zelensky ran a campaign that was as unconventional as his background. Relying heavily on social media and humor, he eschewed traditional political rallies in favor of stand-up shows and online engagement. He promised he would fight corruption, end the war in Donbass, and bring fresh faces into government. His campaign strategy was innovative and effective, particularly in appealing to younger voters and those disillusioned with the established political players. He promised a new Ukraine, free from the corruption and oligarchical influence that had plagued the country for decades. His message of change resonated powerfully with a population yearning for something different. In April 2019, Zelensky achieved a landslide victory in the presidential election, defeating incumbent Petro Poroshenko with over 73% of the vote. This victory was a clear mandate for change and a resounding rejection of the status quo. However, it also raised concerns about his lack of political experience and the potential influence of his business partners and backers. Presidency, challenges and transformations. Upon assuming office, Zelensky faced immediate and overwhelming challenges. The ongoing war in Donbass, rampant corruption, a struggling economy, and the need to navigate complex geopolitical relationships with Russia, Europe, and the United States all demanded immediate attention. Initially, Zelensky's approach to the conflict in Donbass was characterized by a desire for dialogue and compromise. He engaged in peace talks with Russia and separatist leaders, hoping to find a diplomatic solution to the conflict. However, these efforts yielded limited results, and the fighting continued. His anti-corruption agenda proved equally challenging. While he introduced several anti-corruption measures, progress was slow and uneven. Critics argued that he lacked the political power to truly challenge the entrenched interests that benefited from corruption. The influence of oligarchs, while ostensibly curtailed, remained a significant concern. Moreover, Zelensky's administration was plagued by internal conflicts and scandals. The dismissal of several key officials, including Prime Minister Oleksiy Honcharuk, raised questions about his leadership style and his ability to maintain a stable government. Accusations of political interference in investigations and the selective application of justice further eroded public trust. Despite these challenges, Zelensky achieved some notable successes. He oversaw significant reforms in areas such as ownership of land, banking, and decentralization. He also managed to maintain relatively stable macroeconomic conditions and attract foreign investment. Crucially, he fostered a sense of national unity and civic engagement, particularly among younger Ukrainians. The crucible of war. Leadership under fire. The Russian invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022, dramatically altered Zelensky's presidency and his place in history. In the face of overwhelming military force, he refused to flee the country, choosing instead to remain in Kiev and lead the resistance against the invaders. His defiant stance and powerful speeches, delivered both to the Ukrainian people and to international audiences, galvanized international support for Ukraine and inspired Ukrainians to resist the Russian aggression. He became a symbol of Ukrainian resilience, as well as a global icon of defiance against authoritarianism. Zelensky's leadership during the war has been widely praised for its courage, determination, and communication skills. He has used social media and international platforms effectively to rally support for Ukraine and to pressure Western governments to impose sanctions on Russia and provide military assistance. However, his wartime leadership has also faced criticism. Some have questioned his decision-making in the early days of the invasion, particularly regarding the readiness of the military and the evacuation of civilians. Others have criticized his reliance on Western aid and his willingness to accept certain conditions for receiving that aid. Furthermore, the war has raised questions about the future of Ukrainian democracy under Zelensky's leadership. The imposition of martial law, the curtailment of certain freedoms, and the centralization of power in the hands of the executive branch have raised concerns about the potential for democratic backsliding. Legacy, a work in progress. Volodymyr Zelensky's legacy is still being written. His actions during the war will undoubtedly define his place in Ukrainian history. If Ukraine is able to successfully resist the Russian invasion and maintain its sovereignty, he will be remembered as a national hero, a leader who stood firm in the face of adversity and inspired his people to fight for their freedom. However, if the war ends in a less favorable outcome for Ukraine, his legacy will be more complex and contested. He may be criticized for his miscalculations, his dependence on Western aid, and his inability to prevent the invasion in the first place. Ultimately, Zelensky's legacy will depend on the long-term outcome of the war and the future direction of Ukraine. Will he be able to lead the country to a stable and prosperous future, free from corruption and external aggression? Or will the challenges of post-war reconstruction and political reform prove too difficult to overcome? Conclusion: Volodymyr Zelensky's journey from comedian to commander-in-chief is a remarkable and unprecedented story. His ability to connect with the Ukrainian people, his innovative campaign strategies, and his courageous leadership during the war have transformed him into a global figure. He is a complex and at times contradictory figure, a blend of talent, ambition, and political pragmatism. While his wartime leadership has garnered widespread praise, it is crucial to remember that his presidency has also been marked by challenges, failures, and moments of controversy. Only time will tell whether he will be remembered as a transformational leader who ushered in a new era for Ukraine or as a flawed figure who was ultimately overwhelmed by the challenges of his time. His story serves as a powerful reminder that leadership can emerge from unexpected places and that even the most ordinary individuals can rise to extraordinary occasions. Regardless of the final verdict on his presidency, Volodymyr Zelensky has undoubtedly left an indelible mark on Ukrainian history and the world stage.